Jim McCluskey from Stewarton in his third season as a FIFA official. This is his second Skull Cup semi-final. So Mo Johnston and Ally McCoy start the match for Rangers, who are bidding for their fourth consecutive Skull Cup final. 3 wins in a row and looking to be in the final on the 22nd of October once again. But Dunfermline savouring the occasion, their first major semi-final for 21 years. It was back in 1968 when they won the Scottish Cup, beating Hearts in the final. So it's a big night for the men from Fife, and you can be sure they'll give it all they've got. Headed on from Jack. O'Boyle chases. A crisp piece of play there by Butcher. Stuart Monroe, a long ball looking for McCoist, coming across. The header from McCarthy goes straight to Johnston. Here's Derek Ferguson with a shooting chance. Fine save from Westwater. Great play from the Dunfermline keeper, but Derek Ferguson with a fine effort, bringing out the best in the Dunfermline goalkeeper. It was Johnston who set it up. A neat sidestep here from Derek Ferguson. Then the drilled shot with Westwater outside the 6-yard box, and then reacting quickly to prevent the corner kick. There's Goff and Stevens. Now Stephen. Derek Ferguson looking for Gary Stevens. He's controlled it only for the benefit of Rugby. Good play by Dunfermline on the break. Rugby charging forward on the left. Butcher goes to meet him. Late challenge by Butcher. Well, what a clash that was going to be. Doug Rugby at full tilt on the left and being met by Terry Butcher. Great break this from Dunfermline. Rugby started it all off, then went for that return pass, looking up inside to see where he could play the ball, getting to the ball ahead of Butcher and then being caught by the Rangers skipper. Rugby still limping heavily. The free kick will now be taken. Irons playing it across toward Tierney. Johnston going back to help his defence. This is Graham Robertson. Boyle couldn't control it. Here's Wilkins. Hasn't been seen in the match so far, but good piece of play there, setting up Gary Stevens on the right. Good running by McCoist, followed by McCarthy. Abercrombie makes the tackle. Dunfermline caught protesting while McCoist took the throw. Here's Gary Stevens. Now Derek Ferguson. Good play by Ferguson. And by Rugby in defence. Clearance not quite so good. Here's Trevor Stephen. And the danger spotted well there by Tierney. Here's Cosma, he's away from Wilkins. O'Boyle trying to lay it off for Irons. A let off there for Rangers. Here's Walters. Holding off O'Boyle to find Monroe. Played on there by McCoist for Johnston. Here's McCoist again. Now Trevor Stephen! A superb opening goal from Rangers. The 12th minute of the match. Created by the twin strikers McCoist and Johnston, and finished by Stephen. There was Monroe playing it in. The head flick on came from McCoist. The return ball from Mo Johnston. There's McCoist again. Stevens supporting in the middle, taking it on the volley with the left foot, and Westwater had no chance at all. Played wide there by Rugby for Robertson. Away from Butcher, but the cover is provided by Monroe. Here's Johnston taking up good position on the left. Walter strides forward. McCoist way over on the far side, but here's Trevor Stephen. Stopped by Abercrombie. A great chance now for McCoist. Back for Stevens, and well taken by Westwater. Another great sweeping attack from Rangers. The tackle there by Abercrombie, but Walters picked out McCoist on the right. He waited for Stevens to come up inside him. There was Stevens with a shot, but Westwater was well positioned. Stephen into the gap for McCoist. The early ball inside, there's Johnston! Great defending by Norrie McCarthy. Top class defending by the Dunfermline number 4, and it had to be. Just look at this ball played inside by McCoist. Johnston going to meet it, but McCarthy got there first. Here's O'Boyle. Irons is brought down by Goff. Immediate acknowledgement of that from Richard Goff. Tierney has gone forward for Dunfermline. Rugby, I think, wanted to join him, but he has to take the free kick. Up goes Goff. There's Johnston, a neat flick on, looking for Walters. Easing himself away from Farningham. And that was a shocker. A blatant foul there by Farningham. He knew that Walters was away from him. The ball was away. A blatant trip here. Walters taking the ball beyond Farningham. There goes the scything tackle. And the inevitable result is a booking for Ray Farningham. Now Farningham. Here's Walters for Rangers. Johnston on the left. Still Walters! Rugby ties up for Dunfermline. But Dunfermline saved by the face of the crossbar. What a great effort it was from Mark Walters. He won possession there from Farningham, looked up, saw the options on right and left, then saw the chance to set up this tremendous chip shot. It was over Ian Westwater and off the face of the bar. Here's Johnston. Great first-time control. Wilkins now to Walters. Walters making for the byline. Well, a misunderstanding there. Played back in by Wilkins. Westwater scrambling across his goal. Stevens inside. Here's Stephen. Now Goff. There's Johnston! The flying header for Rangers' second. A smile of delight from Johnston. Well, a penalty box man at his best. Walters playing it in. The misunderstanding there between McCarthy and Westwater. Dunfermline now are never out of trouble. There was Westwater challenging. The overhead clearance reaching Richard Goff. There was Stevens. Set up there by Stephen for Goff, and look at this flying header from Maurice Johnston. Rangers playing some of their best football of the season. They're getting a reward in the form of these 2 goals. Here's Mark Walters. Johnston leaves it. And the save made by Westwater from Trevor Stephen. Oh, Westwater irate. But this is a great dummy by Maurice Johnston. Is over the top of the ball, leaves the space there for Stephen. He kept the shot down well, and a fine save from Westwater. Here's Gary Stevens. Delicate ball inside. Here's Johnston. There's McCoist. And that was a classic. McCoist takes a salute of the fans. Walter was there to make sure, but there was Gary Stevens returning it to Johnston. And look at the quality of this first-time pass. In came McCoist, the header against the balance of Westwater, and the ball was in before Walters reached it. Referee now checking with his linesman. Half-time whistle will go at any second, and I'm sure there will be a tremendous reception for the Rangers players from their fans in view of the quality of this first-half performance. And there goes the half-time whistle. Magnificent play from Rangers. And Maurice Johnston was involved in all 3 goals. He was involved in creating the first, linking with Ali McCoy to set up Trevor Stephen in 12 minutes. Then it was Johnston with a flying header on the Richard Goff pass in 35. And then he was involved again with a pass which set up the header from Ali McCoy to make the half-time score. Rangers 3, Dunfermline 0. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Hampden Park. Dunfermline start the second half trailing by 3 goals to 0. They're now really trying to settle down and play for some respectability and pride. Here's Richard Gough, who's in a marvellous match for Rangers, stepping in across the bows of Davy Irons. Such an important defender for Rangers. Munro. Much too far ahead, though, of Mark Walters. McCarthy to Robertson. Here's McCoist in space. Now Walters. Stephen and Johnston wait in the middle. Walters to McCoist. It's back now with Munro. Headed away there by Tierney. Stevens to Ferguson. Here's McCoist. Well tackled by McCarthy. It's back with Wilkins. Now Walters, he's onside. McCoist! Inches wide. Well, just look here for the quality of the pass which came from Ray Wilkins. The ball came there to him. He hooked it across to the far side to Walters, who was onside. He makes for the byline, then pulls it back for McCoist. Now just look how close this is. A perfect view. Well, it's good play from Cosma. He's held by Walters, still goes forward, and eventually he's brought down by Walters, and that was an act of sheer folly. Walters will be in serious trouble for this. No need at all for that in the circumstances. Some superb play here by Cosma, holding off Walters the first time, then the arms flying again, and in the end Cosma's brought down by the Rangers number 11. So it will be a booking for Mark Walters. It's too high for O'Boyle. Butcher will win it. So here's Terry Butcher. McCoist with a layoff into the path of Wilkins. Here's Johnston. Back it goes to Derek Ferguson. Stephen on the touchline. Faced now by Rugby. Possession all important. Rangers retain it well. Wilkins and Gough. Now Stevens. Wilkins again. Good running by Johnston. Here's Stephen. Making room for the cross. Headed away by Robertson to Walters. And a fine save from Westwater. Well, the keeper has been a hero. 3 goals went past him, but he certainly has stopped a few more. Here was the effort from Mark Walters at the near post, and Westwater protecting that carefully. And there will now be a change made by Rangers. They're taking off their veteran midfield man, Ray Wilkins, who's contributed hugely to their performance tonight. And the replacement, a fresh pair of legs of Ian Ferguson. There's a poor kick out by Westwater. He's apologising already to Farningham. Off to Stevens. That's from McCoist. Good running. There's Trevor Stephen. Taken late by Rugby. The ball is in the net. The referee wasn't interested in that. He was much more concerned about the challenge made by Rugby after Stephen released the cross. Good play this by McCoist. Not quite enough weight in the pass, perhaps. Stephen got there first. In went Rugby. And after that, everything was academic. Although Johnston put the ball in the net. Here's Trevor Stephen. And another superb effort made by Ali McCoist. But you must give credit to Grant Tierney, the centre-half, who matched him stride for stride and dived in bravely to turn it behind for the corner. 2 players together. Then across by Derek Ferguson. Here's Gough, tackled by Tierney, which is allowed to turn. Boyle showing his studs to return that forward for Cosma. Well, the smile on the face of George O'Boyle. Certainly was going to play the ball, but it was dangerous, the height he reached with his boot. Ian Ferguson finds Stephen. Let's see the quality of this cross from the flank. Right to the far post, up goes Butcher. There's Johnston, he's offside. Chalked off by the linesman. Boris Johnston looking very sharp and alert inside the box. But again, Trevor Stephen with his superb cross, setting it up for Terry Butcher. Back across the face of the goal, there was Johnston, and he was offside. So 2 changes being made now by Dunfermline, bringing on both substitutes. Taking off Doug Rugby and Ray Farningham. And on goes Stuart Rafferty and Paul Smith. Well, that's very adventurous indeed, because taking off a defender, but on 2 players who play in the middle of the field and up front. Billy Abercrombie's dropped back to left back. There's McCoist nodding it on. Tierney had to be careful. Well, that's great play by Stephen. Here's Maurice Johnston. They're queuing up in the middle. McCoist made it. And once again, Johnston plays a vital role in the build-up. 13 minutes from the end. The very quick throw taken there by Trevor Stephen. Johnston took up good position, looked up, measured the pass, and in goes Ali McCoist for his 2nd of the night. O'Boyle is offside. There's Goff across to Gary Stevens. Now Johnston. Stevens making for the byline. Here's Johnston dropping in deep. End of cross, kept in by Walters. Ian Ferguson. Superbly drilled home by Ferguson. 2 minutes from the end. Well, he's shown his shooting power with his right foot many times, but this is taken with the left. It was Gary Stevens with that far-flung cross beyond Westwater, pulled back here by Mark Walters. It was Trevor Stephen who set it up for Ian Ferguson. Westwater had no answer. Well, a fine goal by Ian Ferguson. It's only his 2nd of the season. (5-0) to Rangers. Tackled by Gary Stevens, carrying the ball wide for Johnston. Gary Stevens sprinting up outside him. Good play by Johnston. He wants it back inside. There he goes. Fine play by Johnston. Well, he's been committing himself to the fray right from the kickoff, and still no let up, although the match is well won. Look at the way he sprints into that gap to take the return pass from Gary Stevens, and Westwater got his angle right. Oh, Cosmo with that great back heeler into space. Here's Ross Jack linking with O'Boyle, and the offside flag was up against Jack. But that was as incisive a move as Dunfermline have offered in the match, and that's to their great credit. Still going to the end. Johnston again finding space on the right, and there goes the final whistle. Fittingly, Maurice Johnston has the ball at the end. Such an impressive player up front for Rangers, as was Ali McCoist, the scorer of 2 fine goals and involved in so many good build-ups. A warm exchange there with Paul Smith, but Rangers running out convincing winners with a very impressive overall performance. Some very high-class football, and Dunfermline on the night simply had no answer. Mark Walters tantalising on the left. Overall, a superb Rangers performance. They're through to the final on the 22nd of October. The final score was Rangers 5, Dunfermline 0.